What's up, guys? Tegan here from tgastrophotography.com. Today I'm going to take you guys through a tutorial on LRGB combination in PixInsight. It's going to be pretty simple. I got I think 21 hours on Sarah's Galaxy, or better known as the Hamburger Galaxy, um, using Astrodon LRGB filters, and I'm just going to take you guys through a simple process of processing the luminance data and then combining the RGB data, getting the color correct on the RGB on the RGB data, blurring it to reduce all color noise, and then um, overlaying our final luminance layer for detail. And that really should take us to the end of the tutorial. It's not going to be too long. I'm just going to go over the basics. Last time I went over the basics, just as kind of a practice run, I found that that process was better than my original process. So I think it'll be 15-20 minutes. It'll be probably longer because I like to ramble. So yeah, let's go ahead and get to it. Oh, this was taken with a AT Astrotech 8RC, um, with a focal length of 625 millimeters, Ioptron Sim 60 equatorial mount, and the ASI 1600 monochrome camera. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and start with our luminance data. I think we're gonna HDR it, or use that high def HD. What is that process? Oh my goodness. Um, HDR multi-scale transform. We're going to use that just on the Galaxy, so we'll have to create a mask, and we'll probably use that same exact mask to deconvolute, and then we can do some noise reduction, and I think that's about it. Um, it turned out to be great data, actually. Let's do a hard stretch. There's a little gradients in the background, but I got the tidal tail, nice diffraction spikes on my brighter stars. I think there's even a little galaxy field over here. It's really fascinating. Yeah, right here. I think that might be a satellite galaxy. I'm not too sure, but all throughout here you can see there's actually some structure in that one. Um, I'm not sure what these are. There's maybe another one right here. Two interacting galaxies. Maybe that's a star. But there are galaxies all over the place over here. Just all these little faint dots. Um, I'm imaging under Bortle 4 skies, and it's really helped to improve the detail and signal in my images. From coming from Bortle 8, it's unbelievable. Yeah, the tidal tail here is going to be really hard to maintain during processing. I think I had trouble last time, so let's go ahead and start. Like I said, I ramble a lot. All right, histogram transformation. So I'm just going to do a basic stretch, increase the midtones here, and then apply it, reset, and then decrease or increase the darks until we get a nice. Yeah, you can't see many of the gradients, and the noise is almost nil. I believe this is 15 hours of luminance data. I can even go stretch it a little farther. I kind of want that tidal tail to show, but it's going to be difficult. All right, I like that, so I'm going to go ahead and apply. And we can do a quick jolt around the image. There's very little noise. You can see some, but a tiny bit of noise reduction will help that. The stars look round in the corners. Tidal tail is just barely visible. So if you're imaging in a refractor at f5, this would be equivalent to 5 hours of data signal-wise. Since I'm imaging at f8, which is whole stop faster, this is, if you got 15 hours on an f5 refractor, I would need 45 hours on my f8. And you can definitely get the tidal tail out with that much data. I guarantee it. It's not that dim. All right. So that looks good there. I'm going to go ahead and do HDR multi-scale transform. So I'm going to create a mask. I'm going to do a range mask. You can do a luminance mask, and that is when you just copy the image, duplicate it. You can right click, hit duplicate, or you can just click on this and drag it over. But what this is going to include, you're going to include the bright stars here. Let me show you a quick preview real fast. mask. I'm going to go to show mask. So these bright stars are still going to be affected. You can see the galaxy is going to be affected. We can go ahead and try it. If it messes up the stars too much, then we can go ahead and create a range mask and see how that works. All right, so I'm going to go to show mask. Now it's still applied when this icon is brown over here. Your mask is still applied, just not showing. So go ahead and go to processes. We're going to go to HDR multi-scale transform, and these are just keep these settings and keep all these settings as is. Go ahead and apply it. All we really need to adjust is the number of layers, and it doesn't take long. All right, let's go down here and do a Control Z. Okay, you can definitely see that darkened it up. It even made the stars a little bit tighter. So I really like that. So I think a Luminance Mask, you don't even need to do a range mask, which is usually a little bit more harsh. That looks fantastic to me. So I'm going to go ahead and do deconvolution with this same exact mask. So this time I'm going to make a preview because deconvoluting the entire image as a preview it takes a very long time. So I just like to zoom in here and deconvolute this area. I'm sorry, deconvolute this preview, test out the results, and then once I'm happy, then apply it to the original image. So make a preview right here, just over the area that you want to deconvolute. And then we're going to go ahead and get started. Go up to processes, all processes, and then down to deconvolution. And these are actually these aren't the original normal parameters. I usually start with 50 iterations and do a standard deviation, 3 pixels, and go ahead and apply that. You can also do, if you do get artifacts around your stars, you can always do de-ringing. Click this, and then if you get dark rings, adjust the global dark. If you get white rings in the center, adjust the global bright. So you can do de-ringing, and it should disclude the stars for the most part. All right, so that process is done. Let's zoom in here. Do a Control Shift Z. Definitely see the details sharpening up a bit, but it does look like it has some artifacts in there. Maybe that's just me being extremely picky. Kind of look wormy. I'm gonna go down to two pixels. Make sure. I think that should work better. Let's go ahead and apply this. Sometimes deconvolution is this easy, or sometimes it's not, especially with narrowband image, like nebula, where it fields lots of objects that you want to deconvolute, and you find that deconvoluting the background becomes an issue. I will do another tutorial based on selective deconvolution, and it's helped me for a very long time, and don't have to worry about deconvoluting the background, getting weird wormy artifacts back there that just make the night sky look unnatural. All right, so let's go ahead, and this is finished. Go ahead and check. See, I'm definitely getting some noise and artifacts over here, which I think means I need to change up my mask. So I'm going to go ahead and do a range mask for deconvolution. Keep these same settings. Oh, I actually did 190 there. Oh well. I'm going to remove mask. Go ahead and go to your original image, and instead of a luminance mask, I'm just going to do a range mask. So go down processes, range selection, And here I only want to make sure this central region is what I'm processing. So I'm going to go ahead and do a live view and adjust the lower limit until the galaxy, only the galaxy showing. So you have these bright stars. You can just get those pretty much out of the way there with your smoothness layer. It really helps to blend, because if you have these sharp edges here, I feel like that the deconvolution, the deconvoluted area in the background, just they don't merge. As you can see, they're not feathered. Those edges aren't feathered at all. So you're going to have a very noticeable area in which you deconvoluted, and also the stars are going to be a little messed up. I don't know. I think it just creates rings, or you can even get black circles in the middle if you deconvolute stars. So if you're not doing it right, I never do it. I just use um, another process to shrink the stars a bit. And so yeah, by increasing the smoothness, you pretty much get rid of all the stars except for these bright ones here. And considering that they're not bright white, they're kind of a gray tone, they won't be affected nearly as much as this galactic um, region will be. So it's just about finding the balance. You can always go back and create a new mask and adjust this lower limit. I'm just going to start there because I know that not too much of the galaxy is being deconvoluted, just the central core, and that dust lane is also included in there. So I like that, and it'll blend well with the background. So I will go ahead and apply this and see what it looks like. Show mask. Okay, so yes, only this central region right here is going to be deconvoluted, and that's exactly what we want. And that star, and that star, and that star. So mask, show mask. Go back to our preview that we originally had. I'm going to go ahead and use these same settings, but actually do as I said and put 2.0 here. I'm going to go 50 iterations, and we're going to go ahead and run it. Now, if we're lucky, we will see 0 deconvolution. This will not change. This background will not change. You will not find artifacts. You won't get those worms. None of the noise out here is going to be deconvoluted. Yep, should only be this region right here. You get some out here, but that's really not too bad. That'll come out with some noise reduction. You can, you can play around with these parameters. Maybe say like standard deviation of 3.4. Let's go 4, and then 15 iterations. So what this does is bring your pixel count higher. It's going to be deconvoluting a larger area instead of smaller area with more iterations. It'll be a larger area with less iterations. And as you can tell, that absolutely butchered it. And you have these dark rings, and I'm definitely not a fan of that. So I'm going to go back down to 2. I think 50 may have been a little too high for my taste. Let's go ahead and do 35. This is all personal preference also. Go ahead and apply this. This shouldn't take too long. That is a pretty zoomed in view. And Control Z, Shift Z, non-deconvoluted, deconvoluted, not deconvoluted, deconvoluted. I think that's pretty good. You can definitely start to see the details sharpen up in that central dust lane. I'm going to go back there, keep the mask applied, and you can hear me babble for the next 3 minutes while this completely deconvolutes. Alright, so the plan after this deconvolution, we might adjust layers, create another luminance mask, layer it over, increase the galaxy brightness, decrease the background a little more. You don't want it completely black. It looks fake almost. You kind of want it a very, very dark gray. Well, that's my opinion. Some people like to really put that black slider down. that's probably how it would look like in outer space. But picture-wise, for me, I don't like a completely black background. Um, so yeah, we're gonna adjust levels, and I'd probably say we're done after that. Then we're gonna combine our RGB channels that I have over here. They're already stacked and aligned, and we don't need to worry about detail or deconvoluting these because we're just using these as color. So we're gonna saturate them, get the color correct. We can either do that. We can do that in Photoshop too. Um, I find to do final color correction in Photoshop, but for RGB, it's works perfectly fine in PixInsight. All right, so we are finished with deconvolution, and I think that looks pretty dang good. Get rid of rain selection, and you can get rid of these masks. But go ahead and keep your Luminance mask. If you exit out of that, that's okay. I will too. And just drag this over here, make a new one. And what we're going to do is apply it. Go to Intensity Transformations and Histogram Transformation. Now, if we applied it correctly, only the galaxy, yes, this galactic area, and these bright stars and some of these other stars, they're going to be affected when we increase our sliders. Then we're going to invert mask and decrease the background. So show mask, live preview. I don't think it needs it. Needs it too much, honestly. It does kind of make the stars look weird. I feel like if you do it too much. I think that's about good. And then you can go ahead up here and back, forth, back, forth. Yeah, I like that. Works for me. Go ahead and apply it. And so we're going up to mask and invert mask. And what this looks like, all these bright red areas right here will not be affected as much as these very dark red areas in the background. We're going to show mask and real-time preview. Okay, now you can definitely see the background getting darker and lighter. The galaxy is actually getting darker with the background, but only these outside areas really, and we're not going to be decreasing the background too much. Honestly, I think about like that. Actually, honestly, I don't think I need to decrease the background. Darkness, I think that's perfect as I'm gonna get it. So delete all previews and delete mask. All right, so this I think is our final. Nope, you know what? Let's do some noise reduction. I said I do. So just create a preview here. There's barely any noise. We don't want to noise reduce the galaxy. So again, apply that lum mask. If you deleted it, grab it, stretch it, or grab it, place it, and it will duplicate. Or you can right click. So mask apply. Now let's show mask. Okay, because sometimes I find if I don't uninvert it and I apply it, it's uninverted still, and I end up noise reducing only the galaxy. Make sure you still have this dark area is. Oh, actually, that's what we will be doing. I'm sorry. We will want it inverted because we don't want this galaxy affected. We only want the background affected. You want these bright areas to be your data, and you want the dark areas to be the background. So mask, show mask, we're going to go ahead and use, I like to use for noise reduction, multi-scale linear transform. And so what this does is use wavelets. It cuts your image into layers essentially, and on your first layer you have very small noise. On your second layer you have bigger noise. On the third layer you have even bigger noise. So just kind of, this looks like very, very fine noise down to the pixel level. It's not big and chunky, orange peely looking. So go ahead I like to keep the layers at 4 because I don't really ever go past 2 or 1 or 2. layers for noise reduction. So all we're going to do here is for layer, hit noise reduction, and down here for target, you want luminance. And that's all that we're going to change right now. We're going to go ahead and apply it. And you can see here that it definitely did reduce some noise. If you do want more noise reduction, you can increase the iterations or you can increase the threshold. So let's go to 3 iterations. That definitely reduced it. So let's say that's still not enough, and we go up to 6. We should see a much bigger difference. It's starting to get unnoticed. So yeah, that's see, it's barely noticeable from far away, because it's super fine. I'm just gonna go ahead with the 3.0, and I'll just go ahead and do 2 iterations. So keep that as is, and then we can go to the second layer and hit noise reduction. Now this usually is much stronger than the first one, so if we apply it, it might be over the top. That doesn't look too bad. Let's go ahead and apply this to the original image and see what we think. All right, done. It looks pretty good to me. So that's my those are my. I only use really 1 and 2. I never really go 3. If you do, you'll find yourself looking at like a plastic background almost. Well, there is no noise in that technically. So if you're into that kind of, you do get these weird artifacts, but those are kind of already there. It's just kind of blended together into one big blotchy artifact instead of 30 or 40 pixels, however many pixels that is. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep it with the two layers and 3 as the threshold for both. And so that is applied. You can see there versus that. All right. So now we've done HDR, multi-scale transform, deconvolution, and noise reduction. Let's go ahead and delete all previews, remove all masks, and I think we are finished with our luminance data. So now on to RGB combination. What we're going to do is apply a stretch to each of these images. I don't like to combine before I stretch because I always have trouble with color, final color. If you combine or if you stretch before you combine your RGB stacks, once you're done, let's say your combined image right out of the process is a bit too blue, you can go and decrease your blue stack a little bit, and it should even it out. If you do it all nonlinear, I find that going in and changing the RGB through histogram transformations just is more difficult that way. I like to do it by individual stack. It definitely seems color balance is more you can manipulate it in your favor when you stretch it before combination. So I'll just same way, histogram transformation, and bring that all the way up. And the cool thing about this, you can open all of these and apply, and apply to all channels. This one's a little bit darker, as you can see, and my stars are out of focus. Oh, I never noticed that. So blue, oh, Apple's Control Z. I don't even have a Mac. Why do I keep saying Apple? Okay. All right. Excuse me. All right. So yes, the red stack. These look pretty even. This actually looks a little bit darker than that. That's okay. The red stack is kind of the outlier. It's pretty dark compared to the others. So just increase the brightness a bit and reset. And we're gonna go ahead and bring down all the darks. And okay, so noise doesn't matter. So you can make these almost as messy and as noisy as you want. try and keep a flat field though. If you do want it, you can always do background modelization, automatic background extractor, or dynamic background extraction to clean up this background data. So okay, we're gonna do it just for the sake of argument. So yeah, you can see this bright here, it's bright over here. So if automatic background extractor doesn't work, make sure target correction is at subtraction. I like to check these two boxes just because they're extra pop-up boxes and I don't use them. Keep everything else the same. After we apply it, okay, that helped. So that looks nice. I'm gonna go ahead and bring down the darks then. That's yeah. And the midtones, I think that's just a little too rough. This is only for color, so any noise that's going to come out of the stacked image does not matter. But if you do have blue area and then green artifacts and like just from light pollution or just color gradients, you do want to get rid of those. So using that automatic background extractor tool on all of your RGB images will help your final color. It will help you get a dark background and it's not going to be full of color noise. So I'm going to bring this down. I like that. Make sure we do get some color in this outer halo here. Otherwise, when you apply your luminance stack, it'll be white or gray. I'd like it to be blue, honestly. So that's that. Let's go and apply it to this one. Nope, that didn't work. Let's do these each individually, I guess. All right, this is probably confusing the hell out of you guys. So let's start with the red stack. That one looks okay. Let's go with green. Obviously, that's very bright. I'm going to reset these settings. Increase there, maybe increase greens a little bit. And apply there. That looks good to me. And blue stack, we will do the same. Bring these down, midtones up. You have to think about the final color of the actual galaxy. The outer stars do tend to be blue, so we do want this channel, this blue channel that we're processing, to be lighter than the other two channels. And go ahead and apply there. So now we have our blue, red, and green stack. And it's only 45 minutes of data, so that's why it is so noisy. It's 45 minutes a piece. So those are okay, and now we're going to combine by going to all processes, LRGB combination. Click the luminance, uncheck the luminance source, and for red, we want to make sure that we do Sarah's Galaxy red stack registered. Just make sure it's the same one, otherwise you're going to get misaligned stars if you use a stack that wasn't registered, or if you just click on a completely different image. Just make sure the red, green, and blue are correct. Green stack registered, and for B, blue stack registered. Now you can adjust the lightness and the saturation. I'll do the saturation down to 40. Don't need to worry about chrominance noise reduction. Oh, and this will be, I think, a global application. While that's running, we will get a crazy colored image that we will have to adjust. Here in about 2, 1. Holy cow. That's nothing like what I expected it to look like. So I'm gonna just stop while I'm ahead, and I'm gonna reprocess these 3 images. So sorry for the backtrack. It happens, I guess. All right, so to make this less confusing, we're just gonna start off with the red stack. We're not gonna be nearly as harsh because I think that's where the issue came in. So bring this up all the way almost. bring it up a little bit more on the second iteration. And I'm just going to do a normal stretch. That's about all I want. And same with the green. Bring that up. I think just stretching these too much just brought out way too much noise that was white, and it just ruined the color calibration. It was red and green, as you saw, and would not be any fun to work with. Green's done, red's done. Let's do blue. Increase the midtones. There we go. And decrease the darks. All right, now that we've done that, we can go ahead and just apply again. Same images, just different settings. Not as intense and crazy because that final image was absurd. All right, that looks a little better. I'm getting purples because there's not enough green in the galaxy and there's too much green in the background. This is perfectly okay. We can do color calibration. So color calibration, we're going to do background neutralization first to neutralize the background, and then we're going to proceed to color calibration, which should color calibrate the entire image to look close to what it should. So I'm going to create a preview. You just want to create a small preview of the background. Try and get no stars in there. This is for background neutralization. So go to Processes, Color Calibration, Background Neutralization, and up here in our reference image, we just want to use our image 25 preview 1. You can right click on this identifier, Sarah's Galaxy RGB, and then make sure you change this to Sarah's Galaxy RGB preview 1, and go ahead and apply it. Now your background might change, like mine barely changed at all. That's okay. So now we're going to do color calibration, and I'm just going to do a preview and highlight the galaxy, and you can get stars in there, but mostly highlight the nebula or the galaxy that you're processing. And then we're going to go to color calibration. Color calibration. For white reference, this is the same thing, but preview 2. So Sarah's Galaxy RGB preview 2. And for background reference, we're still going to keep preview 1 and use that. Everything else should be okay. So go ahead and apply it. I hope this isn't disastrous. I barely saw a difference. Okay, you definitely get more blues in there. So if it doesn't turn out as well as you thought, you can for white reference, you can just use Sarah's Galaxy RGB. You can use the whole image as a reference. Sometimes it works better than just using a preview. That looks pretty purple to me. Shoot. So this is the kind of stuff that kind of sucks. Let's not worry about color calibration. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Let's go ahead and delete our previews, and we'll be working with this. So first off, we have a very green hue in the background. To get rid of this, go to Process, Noise Reduction, SCNR. Color to remove, you can use red, green, or blue. Obviously green, because that is not a natural color. And apply it. Alright, so now we have a reddish purple background. So now it's reddish purple because we don't have enough green data in there. Even though we deleted it all, we'll have to go back and increase the midtones. Not too much though. You can increase the blues. Right now we're trying to get a color corrected galaxy. Work on the background later. So you can see actually there's reds and there's different hues in the background here. It's not very flat. This would be a good time to use automatic background extractor. Make sure your target or your correction is subtraction. Everything else can stay the same. Once we apply this, this should even out the background a tad. Like I said, you will get color noise. Okay, yeah, that looks, there's still some, around the edges, but overall, that looks way better, in my opinion. So now we can go back to histogram transformation and we can work on the color. That's a little too green. I think those are the previous settings we had. Go ahead and increase the greens a little bit. Mid-tone, so pretty bright. Let's go ahead and decrease the greens and decrease the darks here. Not too much. That looks pretty good. There's a little bit of green. Decrease that right there. Let's try blues. You just kind of want to mess around with the slider. If we increase the blues and decrease the blues in the background, our galaxy is starting to look a little more blue. Much more accurate than it was before we changed the levels. And this levels take practice. You gotta, if you don't work with PixInsight or Photoshop or levels in general, just kind of look for the color you're missing and increase the midtones, decrease the darks. Especially if you're doing a galaxy and working with a lot of just a little bit of galaxy and a lot of background. Um, so you can see this kind of purple. I can probably still apply some. Oh no, I I reset the whole thing. Um, so again, let's increase the greens, decrease it in the dark, a little more, so that when we bring up the blues, we can bring up the blues a little bit more heavily and get better color on the galaxy. Reds. The background is kind of a maroonish, which means there's too much red in the background. Keep the reds the same in the midtones because the midtones are going to affect the galaxy. Decrease the background a little bit. That looks pretty good. I guess you can call it pretty good. The star colors kind of funky. We'll still fix that. So now what we're going to do is a luminance mask. So we only want to highlight we're going to change the color of the galaxy and the stars and forget about the background. So we're going to use the same luminance mask that we did for our HDR multi-scale transform. Just go ahead and drag it over, duplicate it, and you can manipulate how bright your mask is too. So you can increase your midtones to bring your darks down really dark like that. And so that when you apply it, the background is going to be barely going to be touched while the galaxy is going to be stretched, and that's exactly what we're looking for. See, yep, dark red background. That's not going to be touched. This galaxy area will be definitely along with these stars. So let's go hit show mask, do a live preview here, and you can see, just for example, increasing the blues. You get the background a little bit, but not nearly as much as the galaxy. Background can be evened out. I like to increase the blues here, greens, and the reds, but only until it looks natural. I kind of like a yellow center, so increasing the red and green midtones will give you a yellow center. And I also like the blue arms out here. I think that's pretty close. You do get halos around the stars. You know what? I'm gonna do, instead of that luminance mask, I'm gonna remove mask. I'm going to do a range selection. And like we used to highlight only the galaxy. You're going to want to blend this a lot, feather it so you don't get a hard hard line from where you're increasing the brightness of the galaxy, because that's just going to be like a weird artifact. You're totally going to be able to tell you masked it. Um, I'd say that's pretty good. Why is this coming up so weird? That's not what my mask looked like. Let's try this again. Process, range selection. So let's compensate, I guess, for that. You won't have to compensate. I don't know why PixInsight's being weird. When I apply it, what's happening is this is turning much brighter than what this is saying it should be. So I'm just going to head and compensate for that and bring it down, because it will probably look how I want it to. Yep. All right. So once you get something like this, go ahead and apply it. Um, you can do view show mask. Yeah, that looks good. There are 0 bright stars. There's 1 bright star here that's going to be affected. And that's pretty awesome. Because we were getting halos and our stars were bloating because our Luminance Mask wasn't sufficient. So, remove mask, didn't mean to do that. Apply mask, I meant to hit show mask. All right, now we can go ahead. And instead of histogram transformation, I actually think I'm going to do curve transformations. This way I can saturate the galaxy. And that's not saturation. Saturate the galaxy. You can definitely see that I need some green in there. Increase the greens. Decrease the midtones. So from there, and maybe the reds. Definitely the reds, because I like that central dust lane to be red. That looks pretty good to me. I'll maybe saturate it even more. And once you saturate it, you might need a lift on your greens. Not too much though, or else it looks pale and weird. Let's see. All right, I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so yeah, so far we've come a pretty long way, I think, on getting that galaxy the color that we want it. I'm gonna apply that again because that did not look like this stretch. Okay, that looks good. That's pretty saturated. So now we want to work on the background. Just mask, invert mask the same way we did earlier. Show mask, this area, this area, this area. That will all not be touched, and everything in the background will be. And what we're going to be doing is show mask desaturating the background so it looks almost gray and black. Click this, you can what is this? Yeah, linear. Yeah, that's right. Um, Using linear interpolation, interpolation, you can increase the saturation of the stars and decrease the saturation of the background. And so you don't get that color noise. Now you don't want it gray, completely monochrome. Otherwise, it just looks unnatural. You don't want too much color in it though. So just honestly bring it down. You don't need to do the linear interpolation. You don't need to click that. Just bring down the saturations a bit. And you can do a star mask. We can do a star mask and increase the saturation of the stars. That is not an issue. If your stars do desaturate while you're doing this background desaturation, you can always create a star mask, go back to curve transformations, increase the saturation of the stars, and you should be okay. And we can do color balance here too. So too much blues. I think that looks like too much greens. Kind of like my backgrounds to have a bluish red tone, if anything. That's affecting our galaxy a little bit. As you can see, it's super purple. There you go. And then RGB, bring the darks down. Don't mess with that. Luminance. It's all really takes practice kind of to understand how exactly you want your color correction to look like. I know I'm kind of going through this pretty fast, but I already kind of know exactly how I want this galaxy to look. This might taking a little bit of tinkering over, especially if you're trying to get the right background color, and you're going to be like restarting a lot. Um, but that's okay. It just takes time, and if you push through, you will. What's the word? Um, Not succeed. You will prevail. Okay, you will prevail. All right. All right, real-time preview. Let's go back, toggle back and forth. That background looks pretty good to me. Galaxy looks pretty good to me. Apply. And voila, I think we're good to go. Color-wise, I do think I'm gonna remove this mask. I do think the background still looks a little uneven. I'm gonna go ahead and instead of doing background modelization, or I'm sorry, automatic background extractor, I'm going to do dynamic background extractor. And this makes it, you can manipulate the areas of the image that you want to average out. So this will pop up. Just want to click the image, and I like to select 3 or 4 areas in each quadrant. Um, these don't really have as much gradients as these. That's okay. Just select 4 areas, outside, no stars. Don't select any nebulosity. Wow, you can just see the color noise. That is insane. So 4 or 5. Some people like to do 30 across, 30 in each, or I don't find that necessary. Um, so do subtraction. I'm sorry, and I select these 2. You don't have to, but if you don't like the pop-ups that come up afterwards, it just shows you of the a black and white image of what was subtracted, and I don't really need to see that necessarily. And I'm going to apply it because that's all you need to change. And that looks like it evened out to me, but it also did change the color a tad, and that's okay because we can go back into curves. It looks a little blue-green, so drop the blues. Drop the greens, no, raise the blues. This is all preference right here, how you like your background. Looks a little bit red. Still a little bit green. And that looks okay to me. A little blue, but it looks a little blue. That's okay. So yeah, this is our finer color image. This is our final color image. It's super noisy. Don't worry about that. Like I said, stars look okay color wise. That one's a little funky, like green. You can go to processes, go back to noise SCNR, noise reduction, run it again to make sure that you get all the green tones out. Um, that actually did help a little bit, it seems. Um, yeah, there's some green tones that actually. Oh, maybe not. Green. Yeah, there's some green tones that disappeared there. But it also made my galaxy too purple. That's because this green noise, the noise in my green channel is being eliminated. And some of that noise is actually responsible for the color of the galaxy. So I'm just going to keep it as is. Like I said, you can do a star mask, decrease the greens a tad, decrease the saturation, or increase the saturation, whichever your stars need. You should be good to go. But here I'm going to use this as my final color image. And now what I want to do is to get rid of all of this noise, all of this color noise. So go up to Mask, Convolution, the opposite of Deconvolution, and do a live preview. And I like to bring it up to where you can see definitely that this image has been blurred. And that's what we're doing. We're blurring it until the noise is all gone. So go and check how it looks after you apply it. There's a little noise, but that's negligible. That will not be a factor. It won't affect it. As long as most of it is convoluted, denoised, you'll be okay. So if you like the colors, I think you can still change the color from here. You can go ahead and apply your range mask. Let's say I do want to make the galaxy a little more blue. Even though it's deconvoluted, it's not going to matter at all. Histogram Transformation. I'm going to increase the blues, increase the greens. Oh, see, now this really helps. I am really able to increase the brightness and color of this galaxy while it's convoluted. Maybe doing color correct convolute first and then worry about your colors might be even better idea. But you can practice here. Reds. I think that might be a little too blue. Okay, there we go. Let's see. Oh yeah, that looks much more natural. So I'm going to go ahead and apply it. And you know what? I also want to saturate it. So I'm going to go to Curve Transformation. I know I said that this was going to be my final image, but I completely lied to you. Increase saturation. That looks good to me. And now that's my final image. We've deconvoluted. We are ready to combine our Luminance stack with our LRGB stack. So we want to go up to Processes, LRGB Combination. And we're going to want to make sure that this mask, all masks, are removed. So we're only going to be using the Luminance layer. We've already stacked our RGB data. Go back to our edit processed Luminance stack, Cirrus Galaxy, Lum stack, raw. Right, so that is right here. Click OK, and now we can do Chrominance noise reduction. I say go ahead and click it, just because it takes a little bit longer, but maybe 30 seconds longer. It's not too bad. I'm going to keep the saturation at 40, because once we do layer this over, it'll kind of, you can see there's very little color. I don't know if it's going to be that drastic, but if it's too saturated, you can always bring it back. So Luminance layer as Lum, uncheck these. You can check Chrominance noise reduction, and then go ahead and use that arrow and apply it straight to your RGB stack. And I'm expecting the results to look pretty nice, because we have a flat black background, nice color in our galaxies, decent color in our stars, no noise, very noiseless luminance layer with great detail and great stars. So it's only a matter of time. All right. That does look pretty nice, but I will admit the saturation on that. Wow, I've never seen the colors come out like that's. I think that's cool. It looks saturated to me. A little green. You can see green, but you can see these pink nebulous areas. almost like HA regions. And over here, I do kind of like that. So this is personal preference. That's not your final image. We're gonna decrease the backgrounds and whatnot, but let's go ahead and put this at default. Since this is kind of just a test, go ahead and apply it with default saturation. Well, 0.01 off from default saturation. All right. Is this our new image? I guess not. Sorry, let's apply it again. Oh, I didn't drag it. Let's see what it does. Okay, sorry. You want to go back to your original blurry image here and apply it directly to that. Otherwise, I wasn't applying it to anything. All right, that looks a little better. I guess you can't go back and see. That's just have some green in your stars, but that's easy. You can just do process again, noise reduction, SCNR, green. Apply it. All right, and it takes all the green away from the stars. And I do think the background is actually a little gray. I would like some more color in there, but that's okay. We do have these lines where the frame, green, red, black, where the frames didn't meet. So I'm just going to crop this actually, and then after I crop it, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go to Process, Dynamic Crop. Get that star in. Just get a decent field of view right in the middle there. Oh, that's Dynamic SPF. You want to do Dynamic Crop. Dynamic Crop. All right, get this here. Shabam. All right, I like that field of view. So my goal now, I like the brightness of the galaxy. I like the color. You can, like I said, that tidal tail is dim. Holy cow. You can't see that. And I bet when we darken the background, that will go away. But that's a processing flaw on my part. All right, so processes, and then I'm going to proceed to go to curve transformations. Actually, scratch that. I'm going to do a Luminance Mask. So we can't add this. We have to make a completely new Luminance Mask because we cropped. So just go. You can duplicate it. But I like when I'm doing the final image, I like to just extract the luminance layer and then add that as a luminance layer. Go to mask, see how we're looking here. Background is going to be mask. We're going to be processing the galaxy color. We don't want that. We want to process the background, so we want to invert. And then we can go to curve transformation. And this is when we can increase the saturation of our background. See, that looks much more natural than a black and white background. It's kind of blue. That's okay. We can bring down the blues a tad. A little green. Bring down the greens a tad. That's a little red. And this is all just being super picky. Go back, forth. Again, it's a little bit darker, but that's what we wanted to do mainly is decrease the darkness of the background. Yeah, I didn't mean to do that. Let's just work with darkness. I like doing the linear interpolation when I'm doing with luminance. I'm working with luminance. Click in the middle, so anything above that's not going to be affected. You're only going to be working with the darkest areas of the image. And then you can increase increase the midtones because you're going to lose that outer edge as you watch. Go up, you can see that outer kind of very small edge. That's a poor mask. You could do a range mask and make that edge a little bit more harsh. I don't think that's completely necessary. Just really take these darks down. You can even that looks pretty good to me. I'm going to increase saturation, like I said, of the background. I think it's still a little blue. Like I said, I like my background to be. There we go. And apply it. All right, now we have a colorful galaxy with pretty nice color in the stars. Maybe a little bloated, but I love the color that I'm getting out of that dust lane. Maybe a little too vibrant, but I don't care. That is really cool. I think we are finished. At least I'm finished. You might want to increase the brightness of your galaxy, decrease it. I don't know. That's all personal preference to how you follow it along. So I guess this kind of went. Oh my God, this is an hour long. That's way over what I predicted, so I apologize. I hope you guys were able to follow along. If you have any questions at all, feel free to comment below. Um, yeah, thank you so much for tuning in, and I should have a couple new videos out too on full narrowband process, and a couple noise reduction, deconvolution process as well. So thank you guys so much.